Hey you guys, it's so weird to be sitting down and actually filming like a normal YouTuber after vlogging so much. Today I wanted to do my favorites, my all-time favorites of 2017, or at least what I can remember. Some of these products might not have been actually released in 2017, but I just started using them in 2017, so you get the idea. I'm sure there will be some stuff that I forgot, but these are the products that automatically came to mind. Let's jump into it. I've got a lot of eyeshadow palettes this year. I really feel like this was like the year of the eyeshadow palettes. The first palette I wanted to talk about was the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. I know everybody's like so over the naked palettes, but I really did enjoy this one. I thought it was great. I did feel like there was a good range of colors, and the thing that I liked the most about this naked palette is that unlike their other naked palettes, there was actually a good range of matte shadows, so you were actually able to create cohesive looks, whereas like the Naked 1, the Naked 2, even the Naked 3, there were so many shimmers that I found it kind of difficult. Like I would have to be reaching for other palettes to sort of complete my look, which for me, when I'm spending like $60 on a palette, or getting it for free in the mail, I don't really care. For me with palettes, I just want to be able to create a cohesive look with the one product and not have to reach for other things. So I really, really did enjoy this palette. I felt like it blended well. I felt like it applied well, nice and pigmented. It's a good one for me. So this is a product that I haven't actually talked about on my channel or anywhere, I don't think, but I've been using it like crazy. This is hilarious. The Maybelline Gigi Hadid palette. So this is the eye contour palette in Warm. I've literally hit pan on this. Who am I? When I saw this collaboration being talked about, I was not very inspired by it. I wasn't super interested in it. I wasn't really that taken by it by any means, but I got this in the mail, and these shadows are so, they're so unbelievably like buttery and smooth and soft, and they blend out like an absolute fucking dream. The only thing is that I find that it's kind of difficult to build up a lot of depth because they are so soft and buttery. It almost just kind of comes off too easily in a way. So I do find it difficult to use that darker shade to really build up. But for just like everyday, quick, sort of like day looks, I really have been using the shit out of this palette and loving it. I'm honestly just blown away by the formula of it. I just think that they did such a good job. So I really have been loving it. The next one is the Becca Apres Eye Lights palette from the Apres Glow collection. Pardon me. So this one features 7 shimmery shadows. I haven't actually talked about this on my channel before either, I don't think, but Becca just has such a good formulation for that kind of shimmery pearlescent. It's just not glittery, it's not chunky, it's just so smooth and so creamy. It applies like an absolute fucking dream. And these shadows all work really, really well on the eyes, but also as a highlighter, which is obviously great. So if you've been meaning to pick up a Becca highlighter, but you haven't really like bit the bullet because of price or whatever it may be, this is a great one, even for like working artists and stuff like that, because there's so many different shades and undertones in there that if you've been wanting to use it even as a highlight palette, I'd almost sooner recommend it as that. That's what I reach for it as. But that said, it's absolutely stunning on the eyes. It's gorgeous. And I've just been really liking that one a lot. So a couple other products that I haven't talked about as much on my channel are some of the NYX eyeshadow palettes that they've been coming out with. I'm just fucking blown away by some of their quality of their products. They've really just like upped their game in the last couple years. So I have the Elements palettes, which you guys know I did. I was like the Face for Earth, which was really cool. But I just grabbed Fire here because it's pretty. I mean, look at that palette. They did such a good job on this collection. It's so pigmented. It's really, really intense. Really cool kind of color combinations out of here. Just been killing it. They've been doing really, really good with that. So I was very impressed by that collection. And then I also wanted to talk about the Perfect Filter collection. So they had a few eyeshadow palettes. I want to say 6 maybe? They had a few eyeshadow palettes that came out with the Perfect Filter collection. This one is called Rustic Antique, but they're also just beautiful. They're just a really, really good formulation at a nice price, and they're super blendable and pigmented, and they just work, man. They do what eyeshadow should do. The next palette I wanted to talk about was the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. First of all, oh shit. No! First of all, I had absolutely no intentions of picking this palette up. I was like, no, I don't like purples. I'm not the biggest fan of the Huda Beauty eyeshadow formulation, so I had tried the rose gold one last year and I was like, it's not that great. Was just not loving it. I felt like it was too dry, too powdery, difficult to blend and I just wasn't having a good time with it. But I ended up grabbing this because the more reviews that I saw of it and the more I saw people using it, I was like, oh, okay, those colors are actually kind of pretty though. So I ended up picking it up, and honestly, like I love this palette. It's just beautiful. Like you're able to create, it looks so standard almost in a way, but you're able to create the most beautiful color combinations with it. It really is super well thought out and cohesive to me. There's a good range of mattes and shimmers. And I think that she did a good job of adding different kinds of textures to this palette as well. Like she has kind of like a pressed glitter, and then one that's more of like a topper, kind of like transformer shade, and then some nice like good shimmers and some good mattes. Like it's just really a super versatile palette, and I've just been really enjoying it. I also feel like the formulation in this is something that I enjoy more than the rose gold one, so yeah, it's in there, man. Top 2017. I wanted to give honorable mention to 2 eyeshadow palettes. Obviously this was the most controversial palette of 2017. As soon as I saw photos of this palette, I was so taken by it. I just love those colors. They're just so perfect to me. I don't know, it's just such a good, unique, cohesive palette to me. I just fucking adore it. The more that I've used it, because I genuinely have been using this palette over the past year quite a bit, the more that I've used it, I can definitely see how those kinds of issues were coming about, that people were having with them, with blending and kind of muddiness and all those different things, but I don't know, man. I still reach for this palette often. I think about it all the time. This, in my mind, is just like perfect color combinations. It's just so great. So yeah, I gotta put it in there, man. I really do, because it's near and dear to my heart. I just wish that it was a little bit of a different formulation so it was a little bit easier to use, but yeah. And the other shadows that I wanted to give honorable mention to was the Natasha Denona shadows. So I have gone on a little bit of a Natasha Denona bender this year. It really took me a while to bite the bullet on these just because they are so expensive. And being that I have the size of a makeup collection that I do, it was really hard for me to justify because, I mean, it's all basically the same stuff, you know what I mean? I do think that she has some really beautiful formulations. I do think that she has some really unique colors as well. So I have actually been enjoying using her products. I just still, ooh, there's just something that like holds me back from really jumping to recommend her products because I just feel like that price point is crazy, baby. But that said, I did want to pop her in here just because I have been really enjoying the products that I have tried so far. Sticking in the eye category for a little bit, I wanted to talk about the Tarte Chrome Paint Shadow Pots. These just came out, but they're already in here, man. They're so fucking good. These are honestly just insane. They have so much pigmentation. They're so creamy. It's just incredible. Like, you don't understand. So normally with kind of glittery, shimmery, super intense eyeshadows, you need to wet your brush to have that kind of intense pigmentation, or you get tons of fallout from it, or just whatever. Like, it's just not what it seems like it will be, and it's not the same as how it swatches. These are phenomenal. They're one of my all-time favorite. Like, I probably would put this in like my top 3 out of every category for 2017. The way that they swatch is how they go onto your eyes exactly. Like, they're just incredible. They're so intense and just buttery and amazing. That's what I have on my lids right now. In case you were distracted this whole time. The other thing that I wanted to mention was the Natasha Denona Shadow Topper Crystal Top Coat. I just make up my own names for these products. So I picked up all of the crystal top coats, which I think might be limited edition. I can't remember, but they're beautiful. They're really, really stunning. They're almost like a more kind of sheer version of the Tarte ones. So they're nice just for adding like a little bit of kind of shimmer and glitter to your shadows without like going super over the top if you're not looking for that really intense kind of like blinding highlight. They're honestly beautiful. It's a really gorgeous texture. I do find that they're a little bit more finicky than like the Tarte ones, so to speak, but they just give such a beautiful impact, especially when like the light catches it. So good. So there you go, Natasha Denona. You got 2 mentions in my video. Last but not least, for the eye category, I wanted to mention the Esqido lashes in Gina, which is actually a collaboration with Gina here on YouTube. These are fucking, so good. They're my all-time favorite lash. They truly are. They're so beautiful. They're just like the perfect weight. They don't have too much intensity. They don't have too little intensity. Like, they're honestly just like my absolute perfect Lash. They just look so beautiful. So I love them. And I found myself reaching for these over and over and over again. I would go to use another lash and then I'd be like, but the Gina lash though. So I would keep going back to them over and over and over again, and that's how I knew it was love. I have 3 top foundations this year. Number 1, my all-time out of this whole year has been the Burberry foundation. My only kicker is that I wish that they had a few more color options, but that said, I still am just obsessed with this foundation. Even when I go to use another foundation, I'm like, but I'm gonna mix it with Burberry though, because it's just so gorgeous. It gives you the most incredible, beautiful glow. I don't find that it settles into my fine lines. It doesn't make me look dry. It doesn't go patchy on my skin. It's just honestly so stunning. Like it literally makes you look like you have like healthy skin, which is what I'm going for. So I've been loving this. It is definitely a little bit more light coverage, so if you are somebody that prefers more like medium to full, this probably won't be the one for you, but I've just been loving it. The other one that I wanted to mention was the Estee Lauder Double Wear Nude. I'm sure that you guys have seen me use this a million times on my channel. I really loved this foundation as well. I went through 3 of these this year. It really is beautiful. It's a little bit more full coverage than I tend to wear now, but it's gorgeous mixed with things. It's gorgeous by itself. It really gives you a nice kind of glow that's a little bit more natural. It's not so intense like the Burberry one is. This one's a little bit more kind of like a satin finish, I'd say, and it's honestly a stunning foundation. Wears really well on the skin. Didn't seem to give me any problems being that I'm dry and acne and stuff like that, so I really love that foundation this year too. Last but not least, this is kind of a more recent buy for me, which is the Perricone MD No Foundation foundation. This is the serum one, but they also have just the regular no foundation foundation. This one I just find is like a tad dewier and kind of more hydrating throughout the day, so I've actually been gravitating more towards this one. But this is a gorgeous foundation. It feels so lightweight on your skin, but it still gives you like a good amount of coverage while still looking quite natural. It's just it does basically what it says it does. It makes it look like you're not wearing a ton of foundation. The only thing I find is that I do sometimes see this kind of clinging to like any dry patches. If I have, you know, like acne or spots that are a little bit more dry, it does seem to kind of cling to it towards the 8-hour mark. I'll see a little bit of texture kind of coming through with this one, but for me, that's okay. I don't usually wear my foundation that long anyways, so that's on my top 2017. I feel like I'm blitzing through this. Okay, so this is my drugstore find. This is the Revlon Youth Effects Concealer, and I have been loving this. I just like that it's not this really intense coverage. It's a little bit more of kind of like a medium to light coverage concealer, but it covers well still and it looks really beautiful. It doesn't get too cakey. It doesn't settle into my fine lines. I just have been really enjoying this concealer a lot. I picked it up as kind of like a drugstore video sort of try on product thing, and I'm astounded. Like I've just been using it every single day over any other concealer that I normally use, so I have been loving it. And I wanted to give honorable mention, there's a lot of honorable mention, I'm giving the credit where it's due here today. So I wanted to give honorable mention to the Tom Ford concealing pen. This is a sad story, man. Jamie Page recommended this to me and I was like, this is the best concealer I've ever used in my life. Like genuinely, I was like, I'm never going to even try another concealer because this concealer is so good that I don't care about anything else. I'm gonna break up with my boyfriend and marry this concealer. It was like the perfect amount of coverage. It was so, like the finish was so gorgeous and like, oh, it stayed a really long time. It blended out seamlessly. Like it was just honestly everything I could want in a concealer and more. I loved it so much. And I went back to Tom Ford to go buy another one because I ran through it so quick because I literally would use it like basically all over my face. And they were like, oh, we don't have that color in. And I was like, that's okay, I'll come back. And then I went to another Tom Ford counter and they didn't have that color in. And I went to another Tom Ford counter and then they were like, you know what, we're actually discontinuing that. And I was like, pardon me? Did I hear that right? Did I hear? You're discontinuing my favorite concealer. What a fucking surprise. This happens to all my favorite products. It's literally sick, It's sick and wrong. Anyways, they didn't discontinue it, they reformulated it, and they changed the color, they changed the formulation, and I'm fucking horrified. I did pick up the new formulation because so many of you guys have been tagging me on Twitter being like, they have it back in stock. And it is back in stock, but it is a different formulation, and the colors are also different as well. And I did pick it up, and I tried the new formulation, and I fucking hate it. I don't hate it, but it's not what it used to be. But I still wanted to give honorable mention because that was honestly like, I thought I had found love. And it slipped through my fingers. So another drugstore find is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. Goddamn. I know so many of you guys are like, where have you been? And I've been trying to recommend this. Like to Jamie Page, I've been like, oh, you should try the butter bronzer. And she's like, Sam, I use that all the time. But honestly, this is one of the best powder products I've ever tried in my life. You guys know that I've definitely been gravitating more towards creams and liquids this year. But this, I've used it every day basically since I got it. It's just such a good, so good. It's such a good product. I've really been loving it so much. It's so hard to like over apply this product. Like it just applies the most perfect amount. You look so natural, so like perfectly tanned and bronzed. It's just such a good product. And it's not too powdery. I keep bringing it back because I'm like, you need to understand. Next is the Cover FX Bronzing Drops in Sunkissed. I've talked about this so many times. I've used it so many times. It's been in my favorites before. I truly cannot get over this product. The only downside for me is that it is quite expensive for what it is. That said, I'm just now getting to the end of my bottle and I've had this for probably about a year. It's the most perfect shade in the world. It just works so well on my skin tone. It blends out like a fucking dream. It just looks absolutely incredible. It makes your skin look nice and dewy and fresh. Like it's just so good. And this is definitely one where like I would start using another bronzer and I'd just be like, it's kind of like missing something, and I would constantly go back and reach for this again. So I am definitely going to be picking up more of this. I definitely recommend it to you guys. There's a couple different shades. I want to say maybe 3 of the bronzing drops. If you can find one that works for your skin tone, definitely try it out. It's one of my all-time favorite products. Last but not least, in the bronzing category, I have the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Wand. The only thing about this product is that I despise the packaging. Like I wish that it was in more of like a dropper type thing, but either way, regardless, it's still a gorgeous, gorgeous color. It's a gorgeous formulation. It blends out so well. The color when you put it on looks quite dark and intense, but it blends out to be the most sheer, gorgeous, incredible contour ever. And again, it looks so nice and fresh and dewy on the skin. Dewy's kind of the theme of this year. But I really, really loved that a lot, so I definitely wanted to throw it in there. And then this helps to segue me into the highlighters, which I only have 2 of this year, because I was like, fuck highlighters. That is the Charlotte Tilbury Highlight Wand, so the highlight version of the contour one. Same thing with the packaging. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it still is the most beautiful formulation. It looks so gorgeous on the skin, nice and like light coverage. It's not super intense, it's not glittery, it's not chunky looking. It's just this really beautiful kind of shine and gloss to the skin. So I really have been loving that one a lot. With this one, a little goes a really long way. The contour one is quite sheer, but this one does have a little bit more impact to it. So you don't need a lot of this guy, and it's gorgeous. And my other fave highlighter this year was the Glossier Haloscope. It's so good. I've been going through so many different cream highlighters this year. Like I've literally been binging on them. Whenever I can find a cream highlighter from any line, even if it's a brand I don't normally shop from, I'm like, give it to me, that one. And I've tried so many, and I found that for me, there's been 2 highlighters out there in the cream world. There's been super glossy, almost completely see-through Vaseline type highlighter sticks that just look really glossy and dewy, which is gorgeous and I like it, but it's not as good for like everyday wear kind of thing. And then there's been really dry, more kind of like shimmer stick almost formulations that I just haven't liked because they look chalky and chunky on the skin and kind of the opposite of what I think a cream should do for you. And the Haloscope is the best of both worlds. Like it has that kind of really gorgeous balmy texture, and it has that kind of sheen and pearlescence of a less balmy stick, but the texture of a really balmy stick. Like it's just everything all together. It's so nice. It wears really, really well. It catches gorgeous in the light. It looks so gorgeous on dry skin. It doesn't weigh you down. It doesn't look patchy. It doesn't look textured. It doesn't look thick. It's just perfect. Like this honestly is like my favorite formulation in terms of highlight sticks. I've just been loving it. And same thing, I feel like I've gone to reach for other highlights and I've kind of just always gone back to this guy. So he's definitely in my top 2017. For lips, first of all, I felt like it was cheeseball to mention my own products that came out this year, so I was like, I'm not gonna do that. So I have one product to talk to you about with lips, the Fenty gloss. If you haven't gotten this yet, you fucked up 2017. This is, first of all, I did not think I was gonna like this gloss. When I saw pictures of it, I was like, Universal, Riri, please. And then like I saw it in person and I was like, oh, it's like such a rosewood kind of color. I was like, those colors do not work on me. I'm not gonna like that. I picked it up anyways because I wanted to try like kind of a range of everything that she'd come out with. This product means the world to me. It honestly is so stunning and it looks absolutely gorgeous on everybody. I watched so many Fenty reviews when this stuff came out, and there were some people that tried the gloss and they were like, oh, I don't really like this. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, this literally makes everybody look like a fucking goddess walking among the earth. It's so stunning. It smells great. It tastes great. It looks incredible. It wears really well. It's just so good. If Rihanna discontinues this, I will take that as a personal hit at my family. And this does also pair well with my MAC lipstick. I'm just putting it out there. But honestly, I've just been like really riding the wave of like more natural makeup this year. So this fit fucking like a glove right in there. The last thing that I wanted to mention, I think you guys knew that this was gonna happen. The new Smith brushes. I'm gonna make this quick, okay? Smith gave me these brushes to try out months ago, and I had a part of my heart missing that I didn't realize, and that part of my heart was shaped like these brushes. And they just nuzzled right in there, and they found themselves a home, and I found love again. So first off, we have the 130 brush, which I've been using for my foundation. This is a more kind of full coverage foundation brush. If you guys tried the 115, which is the more, it's like the white one, this one's definitely a lot more full coverage than that one. Even things that are more light to medium coverage, this will apply with a way, way higher coverage amount. It's just so dense and so incredible, and it really does kind of buff that foundation on without any kind of like lines or anything like that. So I've been loving the shit out of that one. Then we have the 109 brush, which I've been using in place of my Cheeseler underneath my eyes, and it's just perfect for it. It's literally like a little finger just going right in there, blending out your concealer, like a little baby's finger. Such a great brush. Loving that as well. It's super nice and dense as well, so it's great with those cream products. Then we have the 133, which I've been using as a bronzer brush, and I just love it. I feel like it just applies the perfect amount of product. It's not too much, it's not too intense. It's literally just like perfect every time and blends it out so seamlessly and beautifully. It's just such a good density. There's not too much weight to that brush so that it's so dense that it's like too intense when putting on product, but it has a little bit of give that's just the right amount to really blend that product out well. And then we have the 139, which is literally the only brush I will ever use to apply powder with. You guys know I'm not really big on face powder, setting powder and stuff like that. It just picks up the absolute perfect amount of product. It seems like it would be quite dense and almost like it would pick up too much, but it really doesn't. It just picks up the perfect amount so that when you're applying powder, it isn't too cakey and intense. You're not way over applying to the point where your skin texture is compromised. And I wish that I had a brush like this when I was a working makeup artist, because every single time I would spend so much time on people's skin and trying to make it look so perfect and flawless, and then we'd go to powder it, because if you're under like lights and you're doing flash photography and stuff like that, sometimes it can look too intense, the flashback, if you don't powder. But every time we would go to powder, I just felt like their skin like looked so dull and so flat, and this brush stops that from happening, but still keeps you powdered and looking nice and matte without like really, really compromising that skin texture. So anyways, that's my little Smith shill. Anyways, you guys, those are some of my absolute favorite products of 2017. They're the first things that popped into my little head. Please let me know what your favorite products of 2017 were. I want to know. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments below. And that is it for me today. Thank you guys so much. I will talk to you next time. Goodbye. I mean, peace out. Gosh, it's been so long.